Piracy off the coast of Somalia has been a threat to international shipping since the second phase of the Somali Civil War in the early 21st century. Since 2005, many international organizations have expressed concern over the rise in acts of piracy. Piracy impeded the delivery of shipments and increased shipping expenses, costing an estimated $6.60 to $6.9 billion a year in global trade in 2011, according to Oceans Beyond Piracy. According to the German Institute for Economic Research, a veritable industry of profiteers also arose around the piracy. Insurance companies significantly increased the profits from the pirate attacks, as the firms hiked rate premiums in response. A United Nations report and several news sources have suggested that the piracy off the coast of Somalia was caused in part by illegal fishing by foreign boats taking advantage of the war, which resulted in lost fishing income to local communities. According to the DIW and the U.S. House Armed Services Committee, the dumping of toxic waste in Somali waters by foreign vessels also severely constrained the ability of local fishermen to earn a living. In response, the fishermen began forming armed groups to stop the foreign ships. They eventually turned to hijacking commercial vessels for ransom as an alternate source of income. In 2009, a survey by Water News found that approximately 70% of the local coastal communities at the time strongly support the piracy as a form of national defense of the country's territorial waters. The pirates also believed that they were protecting the fishing grounds and exacting justice and compensation for the marine resources stolen. In the absence of an effective national coast guard following the outbreak of the Civil War and the subsequent disintegration of the armed forces, local fishermen formed organized groups in order to protect the waters. This is reflected in the names adopted by some of the pirate networks, such as the National Volunteer Coast Guard, which are testimony to the pirates' initial motivations. However, as piracy became substantially more lucrative, other reports have speculated that financial gain became the primary motive for the pirates. Combined Task Force 150, a multinational coalition task force, took on the role of fighting piracy off the coast of Somalia by establishing a maritime security patrol area within the Gulf of Aden. The increasing threat posed by piracy has also caused concern in India, since most of its shipping trade routes pass through the Gulf of Aden. The Indian Navy responded to these concerns by deploying warships in the region on October 2008. In September 2008, Russia announced that it too would join international efforts to combat piracy. Some reports have also accused certain government officials in Somalia of complicity with the pirates, with authorities from the Galmudug administration in the north-central Hobyo district reportedly attempting to use pirate gangs as a bulwark against Islamist insurgents from the nation's southern conflict zones. However, according to UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon, both the former and current administrations of the autonomous Puntland region in northeastern Somalia appear to be more actively involved in combating piracy. The latter measures include on-land raids on pirate hideouts, and the construction of a new naval base in conjunction with Saracen International, a UK-based South African private military contractor described by the UN Security Council as the most egregious threat to peace and security in Somalia. By the first half of 2010, these increased policing efforts by Somali government authorities on land and international naval vessels at sea reportedly contributed to a drop in pirate attacks in the Gulf of Aden from 86 a year prior to 33, forcing pirates to shift attention to other areas such as the Somali Basin and the wider Indian Ocean. By the end of 2011, pirates had managed to seize only 4 ships off the coast of Somalia, 22 fewer than the 26 they had captured in each of the 2 previous years. They also attempted unsuccessful attacks on 52 other vessels, 16 fewer than the year prior. As of the 27th of February 2015, the pirates were holding no major vessels for ransom, although there were 26 hostages remaining in their custody from a previous merchant hijacking. According to another source, there were 151 attacks on ships in 2011, compared with 127 in 2010, but only 25 successful hijacks compared to 47 in 2010. Pirates had held 10 vessels and 159 hostages in February 2012. In 2011, pirates earned $146 million, an average of $4.87 million per ship. An estimated 3,000 to 5,000 pirates operated. By February 2012, 1,000 had been captured and were going through legal processes in 21 countries. According to the European Union Naval Force, intensified naval operations had by February 2012 led to a further drop in successful pirate attacks in the Indian Ocean, with the pirates' movements in the region at large also significantly constrained. About 25 military vessels from EU and NATO countries, China, Russia, India and Japan patrolled approximately 8.3 million square kilometers of ocean, an area about a quarter the size of Africa. On the 16th of July 2012, the EU launched a new operation, EUCAP Nestor. An analysis by the Brussels-based Global Governance Institute urged the EU to commit onshore to prevent piracy. By September 2012, the heyday of piracy in the Indian Ocean was reportedly over. Backers were now reportedly reluctant to finance pirate expeditions due to the low rate of success, and pirates were no longer able to reimburse their creditors. According to the International Maritime Bureau, pirate attacks had by October 2012 dropped to a 6-year low, with only 1 ship attacked in the 3rd quarter compared to 36 during the same period in 2011. By December 2013, the U.S. Office of Naval Intelligence reported that only 9 vessels had been attacked during the year by the pirates, with 0 successful hijackings. Control Risks attributed this 90% decline in pirate activity from the corresponding period in 2012 to the adoption of best management practices by vessel owners and crews, armed private security on board ships who have significant naval presence, and the development of onshore security forces. The decline in pirate activity has allowed foreign fishing corporations to renew their extraction from Somali fisheries. History. In the early 1980s, prior to the outbreak of the civil war in Somalia, the Somali Ministry of Fisheries and the Coastal Development Agency launched a development program focusing on the establishment of agricultural and fishery cooperatives for artisanal fishermen. It also received significant foreign investment funds for various fishery development projects, as the Somali fishing industry was considered to have a lot of potential owing to its unexploited marine stocks. The government at this time permitted foreign fishing through official licensing and joint venture agreements, forming 2 such partnerships in the Iraqi-Somali Siatco and Italian-Somali Somatel ventures. After the collapse of the central government in the ensuing civil war, the Somali Navy disbanded, with Somali territorial waters undefended. Foreign fishing trawlers began illegally fishing on the Somali seaboard, and ships from big companies started dumping waste off the coast of Somalia. This led to the erosion of the fish stock, Local fishermen subsequently started to band together to protect the resources. After seeing the profitability of ransom payments, some financiers and former militiamen later began to fund pirate activities, splitting the profits evenly with the pirates. In most of the hijackings, the pirates have not harmed the prisoners. Combined Task Force 150, a multinational coalition task force, subsequently took on the role of fighting piracy off the coast of Somalia by establishing a maritime security patrol area within the Gulf of Aden. However, many foreign naval vessels chasing pirates were forced to break off when the pirates entered Somali territorial waters. To address this, in June 2008, following a letter from the Somalian Transitional Federal Government to the President of the UN Security Council requesting assistance for the TFG's efforts to tackle acts of piracy off the coast of Somalia, the UN Security Council unanimously passed a declaration authorizing nations that have the consent of the Transitional Federal Government to enter Somali territorial waters to deal with pirates. On the advice of lawyers, the Royal Navy and other international naval forces have often released suspected pirates that they have captured because, although the men are frequently armed, they have not been caught engaging in acts of piracy and have thus not technically committed a crime. Due to improved anti-piracy measures, the success of piracy acts on sea decreased dramatically by the end of 2011, with only 4 vessels hijacked in the last quarter versus 17 in the last quarter of the preceding year. In response, pirates resorted to increased hostage-taking on land. The government of the autonomous Puntland region has also made progress in combating piracy, evident in interventions by its maritime police force, in part to further curtail piracy activity. The London Somalia Conference was convened in February 2012. According to the International Maritime Bureau, pirate attacks in the Indian Ocean had by October 2012 dropped to a 6-year low. Attempted hijackings fell from 237 in 2011 to 75 the following year, with successful attacks plummeting from 28 in 2011 to 14 in 2012. Additionally, only 1 ship was attacked in the third quarter of 2012 compared to 36 during the same period in 2011. Summary of recent events: Somali pirates have attacked hundreds of vessels in the Arabian Sea and Indian Ocean region, though most attacks do not result in a successful hijacking. In 2008, there were 111 attacks, which included 42 successful hijackings. However, this is only a fraction of the up to 30,000 merchant vessels which pass through that area. The rate of attacks in January and February 2009 was about 10 times higher than during the same period in 2008, and there have been almost daily attacks in March, with 79 attacks, 21 successful, by mid-April. Most of these attacks occurred in the Gulf of Aden, but subsequently the pirates increased the range and started attacking ships as far south as off the coast of Kenya in the Indian Ocean. Below are some notable pirate events which have garnered significant media coverage since 2007. On the 28th of May 2007, a Chinese sailor was killed by the pirates because the ship's owners failed to meet the ransom demand. On the 5th of October 2008, the United Nations Security Council adopted Resolution 1838 calling on nations with vessels in the area to apply military force to repress the acts of piracy. At the 101st Council of the International Maritime Organization, India called for a United Nations peacekeeping force under unified command to tackle piracy off Somalia. In November 2008, Somali pirates began hijacking ships well outside the Gulf of Aden, perhaps targeting ships headed for the port of Mombasa, Kenya. The frequency and sophistication of the attacks also increased around this time, as did the size of vessels being targeted. Large cargo ships, oil and chemical tankers on international voyages became the new targets of choice for the Somali hijackers. This is in stark contrast to the pirate attacks which were once frequent in the Strait of Malacca, another strategically important waterway for international trade, which were, according to maritime security expert Catherine Zara Raymond, generally directed against smaller, more vulnerable vessels carrying trade across the straits, or employed in the coastal trade on either side of the straits. On the 19th of November 2008, the Indian Navy warship Pins Tabor sank a suspected pirate mothership. Later, it was claimed to be a Thai trawler being hijacked by pirates. The Indian Navy later defended its actions by stating that they were fired upon first. On the 21st of November 2008, BBC News reported that the Indian Navy had received United Nations approval to enter Somali waters to combat piracy. On the 8th of April 2009, 4 Somali pirates seized the Maersk, Alabama, 240 nautical miles southeast of the Somalia port city of EYL. The ship was carrying 17,000 metric tons of cargo, of which 5,000 metric tons were relief supplies bound for Somalia, Uganda, and Kenya. On the 12th of April 2009, United States Navy SEAL snipers killed the 3 pirates that were holding Captain Richard Phillips hostage aboard a lifeboat from the Maersk, Alabama, after determining that Captain Phillips' life was in immediate danger. A 4th pirate, Abdul Wali Muse, surrendered and was taken into custody. On the 18th of May, a federal jury in New York returned a 10-count indictment against him. On the 20th of April 2009, United States Secretary of State Hillary Clinton commented on the capture and release of 7 Somali pirates by Dutch naval forces who were on a NATO mission. After an attack on the handy tankers Magic, a petroleum tanker, the Dutch frigate Azeven Provinciën tracked the pirates back to a pirate mothership and captured them. They confiscated the pirates' weapons and freed 20 Yemeni fishermen whom the pirates had kidnapped and who had been forced to sail the pirate mothership. Since the Dutch naval forces were part of a NATO exercise, but not on an EU mission, they lacked legal jurisdiction to keep the pirates, so they released them. Clinton stated that this action sends the wrong signal, and that additional coordination was needed among nations. On the 23rd of April 2009, international donors pledged over $250 million for Somalia, including $134 million to increase the African Union peacekeeping mission from 4,350 troops to 8,000 troops, and $34 million for Somali security forces. Secretary-General of the United Nations Ban Ki-moon told delegates at a donors' conference sponsored by the UN that piracy is a symptom of anarchy and insecurity on the ground, and that more security on the ground will make less piracy on the seas. Somali President Sharif Ahmed pledged at the conference that he would fight piracy, and to loud applause said that it is our duty to pursue these criminals not only on the high seas, but also on terra firma. The Somali government has not gone after pirates because pirate leaders currently have more power than the government. It has been estimated by piracy experts that in 2008 the pirates gained about $80 million through ransom payments. On the 2nd of May 2009, Somali pirates captured the MV Ariana with its 24 Ukrainian crew. The ship was released on the 10th of December 2009 after a ransom of almost $3 million was paid. On the 8th of November 2009, 2009, Somali pirates threatened that a kidnapped British couple, the Chandlers, would be punished if a German warship did not release 7 pirates. Omar, one of the pirates holding the British couple, claimed the 7 men were fishermen, but a European Union Naval Force spokesman stated they were captured as they fired AK-47 assault rifles at a French fishing vessel. The Chandlers were released on the 14th of November 2010 after 388 days of captivity. At least 2 ransom payments, reportedly over £500,000, had been made. In April 2010, the Central Intelligence Agency alluded to possible covert and overt action against the pirates. CIA officials had been publicly warning of this potential threat for months. In a Harper's Magazine article, a CIA official said, "We need to deal with this problem from the beach side, in concert with the ocean side. But we don't have an embassy in Somalia and limited, ineffective intelligence operations. We need to work in Somalia and in Lebanon, where a lot of the ransom money has changed hands. But our operations in Lebanon are a joke, and we have no presence at all in Somalia." In early May 2010, Russian special forces retook a Russian oil tanker that had been hijacked by 11 pirates. 1 died in the assault, and a week later Russian military officials reported that the remainder were freed due to weaknesses in international law but died before reaching the Somali coast. Russian President Dmitry Medvedev had announced the day the ship was retaken that "We'll have to do what our forefathers did when they met the pirates, until a suitable way of prosecuting them was available." On the 11th of May 2010, Somali pirates seized a Bulgarian-flagged ship in the Gulf of Aden. The Planemad, with 15 Bulgarian crew members aboard, was en route from the Red Sea to India or Pakistan. This was the first such hijacking of a Bulgarian-flagged ship. On the 12th of May 2010, Athens announced that Somali pirates had seized a Greek vessel in the Gulf of Aden with at least 24 people on board, including 2 Greek citizens and some Filipinos. The vessel, sailing under the Liberian flag, was transporting iron from Ukraine to China. On the 14th of January 2011, while speaking to reporters, Commodore Michiel Heijmans of the Royal Netherlands Navy stated that the use of hijacked vessels in more recent hijackings had led to increased range of pirating activities, as well as difficulty to actively thwart future events due to the use of kidnapped sailors as human shields. On the 15th of January 2011, 13 Somali pirates seized the Samho Jewelry, a Maltese-flagged chemical carrier operated by Samho Shipping, 650 kilometers southeast of Muscat. The Republic of Korea Navy destroyer Choi Young shadowed the Samho Jewelry for several days. In the early morning of the 21st of January 2011, 25 ROK Navy SEALs on small boats launched from the Choi Young boarded the Samho Jewelry while the Choi Young's Westland Superlinks provided covering fire. 8 pirates were killed and 5 captured in the operation. The crew of 21 was freed, with the captain suffering a gunshot wound to the stomach. On the 28th of January 2011, an Indian Coast Guard aircraft, while responding to a distress call from the CMACGM Verdi, located 2 skiffs attempting a piracy attack near Lakshadweep. Seeing the aircraft, the skiffs immediately aborted the piracy attempt and dashed towards the mother vessel, MV Prontile 14, a hijacked Thai trawler, which hurriedly hoisted the 2 skiffs on board and moved westward. The Indian Navy deployed the INS Kankazo, which located and engaged the mothership 100 nautical miles north of the Minicoy Island. 10 pirates were killed while 15 were apprehended and 20-ton Burmese fishermen being held aboard the ship as hostages were rescued. Within a week of its previous success, the Indian Navy captured another hijacked trawler, MV Prontley 11, and captured 28 pirates aboard in an operation undertaken by the INS tier pursuant to receiving information that a Greek merchant ship had been attacked by pirates on board high speedboats, although it had managed to avoid capture. When INS tier ordered the pirate ship to stop and be boarded for inspection, it was fired upon. The INS tier returned fire, in which 3 pirates were injured, and caused the pirates to raise a white flag indicating the surrender. The INS tier subsequently was joined by CGS Samar of the Indian Coast Guard. Officials from the Indian Navy reported that a total of 52 men were apprehended, but that 24 are believed to be Thai fishermen who were hostages of the 28 African pirates. In late February 2011, piracy targeting smaller yachts and collecting ransom made headlines when 4 Americans were killed aboard the vessel, the Quest, by the captors, while a military ship shadowed them. A federal court in Norfolk, Virginia, sentenced 3 members of the gang that seized the yacht to life imprisonment. On the 24th of February 2011, a Danish family on a yacht were captured by pirates. In March 2011, the Indian Navy intercepted a pirate mother vessel 600 nautical miles west of the Indian coast in the Arabian Sea on Monday and rescued 13 hostages. 61 pirates have also been caught in the operation carried out by Navy's INS Kalpeni. In late March 2011, the Indian Navy seized 16 suspected pirates after a 3-hour-long battle in the Arabian Sea. The Navy also rescued 16 crew members of a hijacked Iranian ship west of the Lakshadweep Islands. A crew included 12 Iranians and 4 Pakistanis. On 5 January 2012, an MH-60S Seahawk from the guided missile destroyer USKID, part of the US John C. Stennis carrier strike group, detected a suspected pirate skiff alongside the Iranian-flagged fishing boat Al-Mulai. The master of the Al-Mulai sent a distress call about the same time, reporting pirates were holding him captive. A visit board search and seizure team from the KID boarded the Dow, a traditional Arabian sailing vessel, and detained 15 suspected pirates who had been holding a 13-member Iranian crew hostage for several weeks. The Al-Mulai had been hijacked and used as a mothership for pirate operations throughout the Persian Gulf. Members of the Iranian vessel's crew reported, with the increase in illegal fishing off Somalia after the 2013 decline in piracy, fishing vessels became targets in a few incidents in 2015. In March 2 Iranian vessels and in November 1 Iranian and a Thai vessel were attacked.